everybody. It is Latasha. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. That you're listening from the right mic. You're seeing me from the right camera. And I'm going to test that while we have a couple of minutes to make sure everyone can hear okay. Okay. Do, 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 do. And we'll be starting briefly. So much information today. Hopefully, it's not information overload as you are about to hear this message. Hope it's not overload, but we'll see in just a moment. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. Not sure who's going to be here with me today. Our topic for today are some tips, some Zoom tips and Zoom alternatives. Zoom tips and Zoom alternatives. Give me just a moment and I'm going to share my screen because I think this is good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Okay, perfect. So today's topic is Zoom tips and alternatives. Again, if this is your first time watching one of my lives, my name is Latasha Martin and I am the owner of VonSwy Solutions. What we do is we help individuals figure out how to navigate their career without compromising your faith or family by creating outside the box solutions to help connect your personal goals to your career plan. And so, what we use a lot in this company is technology, and that is why I've been hosting these sessions Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. on different things as it relates to virtual solutions or technology and tips. And if you want more information from me, you can go to our website at www.vonswysolutions.com, put your email in there and your name, and you will get access to all the documents that I've been sharing on the lives for the last couple of weeks. And so today, the reason why I wanted our focus to be Zoom tips and alternatives is because there has been something happening as of late. So you have something that's a really good tool, then people want to turn it around to make it something not so good. And so what does that mean? What that means is that there's this thing called Zoom bombing. What Zoom bombing is that there's hackers online that are able to take names of people who are registered for courses with you. They find the meeting ID, and if you do not have a password, they are able to come in and hack your session live. Now, why does that, why is that a problem? Because the hackers don't have good intentions at all. What they're doing is things from illicit language, or they may be streaming in pornography or pornographic sites, or they may be exposing themselves. So it's all types of negative things that really does not help for whatever it is that you're connecting with. And so today what I wanted to do was give you some tips or some things that you can do strategically so that people cannot Zoom bomb your event, or you can just protect yourself as we move forward. So if you've been using Zoom for a while, here are some Zoom tips and best practices. The first thing you want to ask yourself is, for what I'm using Zoom for, because it seems to be the go-to tool, people are using Zoom for so many things that you may not necessarily need to use that tool. And so as we go through our session today, you might realize, oh my gosh, you know what? Maybe I don't need Zoom all the time. Maybe there's some other technology out there that I could use for my particular situation. And so we're going to introduce you to some of those, some that are free, some of them are higher cost and more sophisticated. But again, the whole purpose is that we're going to give you some answers when you ask yourself the question, is Zoom the right tool? The next thing is that if you are currently using Zoom and you have a link that is out there that you've been using, I would encourage you to go ahead and add a password to those sessions. I think that's something that they're trying to really reinforce, that you do that. So in addition to creating a password, you want to make sure that instead of you using the same Zoom meeting ID over and over again, that each time you create a session for Zoom, that you create a unique code. So you can have different codes each time you have an event, and you want to have that extra layer of security by adding a password. Now, here's something that you may or may not feel good about, but then once your session begins, what I would encourage you to do is to lock out your session. What that means is that after a certain amount of time, once that session has began, you can no longer allow people to just join at free will. And so why is this something that you might be on the fence with? Because if you're trying to use Zoom as a tool to increase your social presence, or you're trying to do some things where you're trying to grow a group or a community, you might feel uncomfortable with this. However, because you want to have an effective solution, it would really be better for you to have a strategy behind your Zoom event versus just leaving it open as a free for all. So, what do I mean by being more strategic about that? What I mean is that instead of you creating a Zoom link that's on a public page, you may want to go ahead and advertise the event using a public page. But then, if people would like to participate in the actual event itself, you could have it where they have to go through a process where they register for the event. Once they register for that event, then if you're using automation, something as simple as MailChimp or Keep or Infusionsoft or Entreport, any of these CRM systems, your autoresponder in that message, once they register for your event, could provide for them through email the login and password for your event. And the nice thing about that is usually in most of the softwares I've just mentioned, that right before that event is going to happen, 15 minutes before, if you have it set up where it provides a reminder, 15 minutes before that event, it will send a reminder to that person, and it will include the username and password. So again, the link for the session and the password. Again, this is one of those things when I talk to clients about creating virtual solutions, it should not be a one and done. You really do want to make sure that there's a strategy behind the tools and the software that you're using. So starting with the end in mind, using Stephen Covey's words, beginning with the end in mind, a good approach for that is for you to, again, make sure that you have that software solution in place, such as, again, a MailChimp, which is completely free, maybe Constant Contact. If you want something more sophisticated, you could shift over to Keep or Entreport or Infusionsoft, just depending on the level of sophistication. Or if you're really, really into sales, you could even be using something as robust as Salesforce. So again, getting in the habit from the beginning that you're giving something, but then people are giving you your email so that you can send them information for your Zoom event, as well as other things that they might be interested in as we move forward. So let's go to some other solutions, some Zoom alternatives. Now, stick with me. I'm about to introduce you to a whole bunch of information. As I'm going through providing all of this information, what I would love to hear from you or someone is if you're going, as I'm going through these different alternative to Zoom, if you would like additional information on any of these platforms, I would ask that you put that information over in chat. So let's go ahead and get started with the first area. So if you're a person that would like a Zoom alternative and right now you're using this software for just family or social gatherings, there are some free tools that are available to you. Again, as you're thinking about meeting together and you don't want to leave people behind depending on their level of comfort with technology, you can do some of the things that I have here in this bubble that you see. The first icon that we have right here is the FaceTime logo. So if you use an Apple device, whether it's an iPhone, an iPad, or a Apple desktop or laptop, all of them have the ability to use FaceTime. A nice feature that Apple brought in, I think it was about last year, was the idea that you can create a FaceTime with more than one person. So me and my kids, when my two kids were off at college, one was in school, one was here, and then myself and then my husband might be at work. If we wanted to do a call where all of us jumped on for free, we all have iPhones, so we would do a FaceTime with a group. So all of us could be on FaceTime together instead of just one person. So again, you may not even realize that that's a feature that is available on your iPhone, but it is completely free. And if you're having a family or a social gathering, that might be an alternative if you wanted to use it. Again, that's FaceTime. Not sure how many people is the max. Our family is a family of 5, and we've been able to do it, although I will say not everybody's always been there on there at the same time. The next tool that I would like to talk to you about is Skype. Now, Skype is not that dependable. What I would say is not always the most stable, most stable app that you can use, but Skype could be used for professional or personal. The thing is that with Skype is going to be transitioning to a tool called Teams if you're using it in the business sector with Office 365. But you can still use another version of Skype for free for your personal use. And so Skype is just an app that you download. People use the Skype right on their iPhone or their Android device. They click on the Skype button. You have a Skype name. They can connect with you on Skype, and it's a great free tool that you can use. Another option that you have is Google Hangout. That's the one with the two air quotes, the green icon that looks like a big, I don't know, apostrophe. It is Google Hangouts. Again, if you are an Android user, is when I would suggest that most because it's a Google product. If you use an Android device, it's just a seamless interaction with it. However, if you have an Apple phone, you do have the ability to use Google Hangout. You just have to download the app and you can use it the same way. Not sure because I've been using Apple for so long if you can have additional features on an Android device. But again, Google Hangout is a great tool for you to use if it's family and social gatherings. Now, let's just say that you have a combination of people's level of comfort with technology. Another option that you can use, I know, amazing, where it doesn't have the face-to-face interaction, but you could still have the ability to hear someone's voice, is using freeconferencecall.com. If you use freeconferencecall.com, everyone can call in. They have a passcode, they call in, and the thing that's really nice about that on free conference call is that you do have the ability to record those calls. So again, if it's a family or social gathering, or if you're having a meeting with people that may or may not feel comfortable with all the other types of technology, you can use free conference call. You could record that session. And I think you need to use free conference call HD in order to upload that up to that recording up on the cloud so that people can access or retrieve that recording at a later date. But again, some great tools that you can use for free that will bring you together, I would say, for family and social gatherings if you don't want to necessarily use Zoom. So now let's shift over to the next set of tools. Let's go to something, this is the more traditional webinar software. So this is where fees are incurred and it's a little bit more expensive. Well, I'm going to say a lot more expensive. And not only is it more expensive, but it usually takes a little bit more of setup if you're going to use the softwares that I have up on the screen right now. And the range to use these software can be anywhere from, I think, less than $20 to more. Now, the thing is that these software solutions that I have up on the screen, they are really designed for that traditional. Usually I would suggest at this point, larger companies that have the budget or really want to make sure that they have a firm grasp when they're doing their webinars. So the first one that I'm showing here is called WebEx. WebEx is actually when I learned how to use online tools. That was the first tool that I used. And now I want to say that was about 9 or 10 years ago that I was using WebEx. But many of the platforms that I'm talking about in the traditional webinar space, they have two different versions. So WebEx has WebEx meetings, and then it has WebEx training, and then there's like a WebEx conferencing. And each one of those WebEx platforms can do different functions and different things. And so again, there is a monthly fee. They used to, with WebEx, had a free version, but it was only for 8 people or less. And again, if you're talking about 8 people or less, I would encourage you to think back to some of those family and social gathering tools like Google Hangout, Skype, or using FaceTime before you make an investment inside of a tool like WebEx. The next one that we have to the upper right here is GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting is, I would say, the most direct competitor to WebEx because, again, it is designed and they have 2 different versions also of GoToMeeting. They have one for meetings, then they have one for webinars. And again, the difference in those is things such as breakout rooms, annotation tools. There's just a lot more things available in real-time polling questions. Those are the things that could be available in, again, the WebEx or the GoToMeeting. The third one I've used before. I thought that I liked it because at this time when I used Adobe Connect, that's the one with the green squares and the looks like a little weird shape. But anyways, that's Adobe Connect, and it is a tool that is created by the Adobe company, the same one that does Photoshop, InDesign, Captivate, That's an Adobe product. I used to like Adobe. I used it for a long time. Then I moved away from it because, again, for the fee that I was paying to use Adobe, it just didn't have a good enough ROI for me to justify the expense. So I no longer use Adobe Connect. It is a nice feature also. It is one that is really easy to use if you're using voice over IP, where WebEx and GoToMeeting both still have a dial-in phone number that you can use, or you can use voice over IP with those as well. And what voice over IP means is simply you can log in with your computer. So again, I'm sorry for using technical language, but it simply means you can log in with your computer. Let's go to the next one here. So we went from the free to the most expensive. Now let's shift over to creating simulated live events. So what a simulated live event would look like is sometimes when you are responding to ads, whether they are online, on a website, on Facebook, or on YouTube, it might say to you, click below so you can register for a class that's offered in, and you'll see there's multiple times, no matter what time of day you log in to that particular ad, you'll see that there's a class starting in a few minutes. And what those are called are simulated live events. Again, these two tools, they do have a fee, pretty hefty, pretty sophisticated. Not necessarily sure that the people who are listening to this message today would need something as robust as Webinar Ninja or Webinar Jam. But Webinar Ninja is the one at the top with the little, like it looks like a 1, 2, I don't know, we'll say a pen. I don't want to even sound like I do not understand the shapes. Anyways, it's the blue shape with it. It's supposed to look like a little mask with the Webinar Ninja and Webinar Jam. So Webinar Ninja and Webinar Jam, you can do some things with it that are really cool, meaning that you can host a live event for the first time, then it's recorded. Then in the future, what you can do is schedule that they start again. So I remember when I was launching a promotion, I used Webinar Ninja. I recorded it once live, and then it played every single night for like 2 weeks to promote a class that I had. Now, some of the things that are cool with Webinar Ninja and Webinar Jam is if you upgrade your account with them, then they will have an interactive chat feature. So it looks like you're actually live in that session itself, but they're typically not asking questions where people can respond and answer questions live. You might think that they are if they say, hey, answer that question over, ask a question over in chat. The reason they're having you do that is because there's a tool that they can use or they can interact with you through like through their mobile device or on their laptop, where they could be doing something different. That webinar could be running in the background and they can respond to the questions. Again, the great thing about those tools is if you're trying to advertise something and you know that if people keep going to these sessions, or if this is a part of your drip campaign, and all a drip campaign means is that you have automation that takes your customer step by step by step through automation. And as they do something, something else happens. As they do something, something else happens. So if you have a landing page, which is usually an advertisement where you're trying to promote a book or a product or some type of a tool or a training, people can go ahead and they can register for it. After they register for that event, it'll take them to the video. It could go through this simulated live virtual webinar. After they go through that virtual live webinar, what will happen is then another set of steps will happen. In some of these tools, you can provide an offer, and what an offer means is you can upsell. So if it's a free simulated live event, then after that simulated live event, you can put an offer in there and they can respond to that offer. Again, those tools those tools independently are not as powerful unless you tie them into an automation plan, or what they'll call them as campaigns, drip campaigns, whatever you want to call them. Again, I'm getting a little technical today, but I just wanted to let you know that things don't happen in isolation. And because I know that this might be a bit for some people, I'm just going to go ahead and put over here in the comment, you'll see that I'm putting my copy. Let's just go back into this, make sure we have the right thing up on the screen. Hold on one moment, make sure it's up. You'll notice that I'm saying a lot of things that could take people to a place where they're like, Latasha, at this point, you have totally lost me. You can schedule time with me if you'd like on a call to get some more information about this simulated live by just clicking on that link. So let's go ahead and talk about the next set of tools. So the next set of tools are designed for people who want to stream. And oh, it looks like my thing is covering. Hold on, let me just shut some of these things off so that you guys can see the bottom here. So if you want to stream live and do an interview style conversation with someone else, a couple of tools that I would have you consider. The first one is called Be Live. Be Live is a tool that can be used with Facebook or YouTube Live. And what happens is you can set up a session. They have a free version, and then they have the next version, which is $30 a month. Very simple, very intuitive. The Be Live session, you get a link, you give the other person a link, and then you're on the screen side by side. Now, Facebook did have, and I haven't, it wasn't working for me. That's why I'm even advertising Be Live. Facebook used to have a feature inside of it where you could add someone and you would have that side by side experience. I didn't have luck with it last week, so then I shifted back to an oldie goldie that I used to use all the time. It's called Be Live. Like I said, it's spelled BE period live TV. So again, that is a tool that can be used with Facebook. I do want to tell you that the thing with Facebook is that it's easy to use if you want to use it on your public page or your fan page or your business page. That's what they call them. Fan page, business page, same thing. But if you're using it with a group, there's an added level of security with Facebook that you need to make that app. You must give permission to have that app function in your group. So again, when you're using it on your public page or your business page, no other steps are needed. But if you do want to use Be Live in a group, there's an added feature of security that you need to do with Facebook in order for it to work. Again, any questions, you can drop them over in chat. The other tool that I like, but it is designed for Mac computers, it said that there's a Windows application, but the more and more research I do, I don't see that it is. I just see that it's available for Mac computers, and that's called Ecamm. What I'm using right now is Ecamm. Ecamm has a lot of cool features that are involved with it. It's got cool things like, for example, let me come over here. It'll give me this option to put in a sound. You have sounds like applause. You got you can make noise with it. Like, ooh, that was pretty a tingy ear. It's got things where you can do green screens. You can have screens that are moving. You can put overlay text in there, like you see me putting in here right now, where I could put my name at the bottom. It's got a chat feature. It's a really nice tool to use. Not super intuitive, but there is a fee. When I purchased it first, it was a one-time fee. Now there's a monthly fee for Ecamm, and there's different levels of that also. The way that it does the side-by-side interview is that there is an integration with Skype. However, I do want to say that the side-by-side integration with Skype is the personal Skype, not Skype for business. They're totally different platforms, even though they have the same name. Thank you, Microsoft, for the confusion. I had to figure that out with a friend. So if you're using Ecamm, the way that you do the side-by-side feature with Ecamm is that you have to integrate it with Skype. So again, that's how you get the side by side. But what are some other benefits of using Ecamm? Ecamm can also stream on YouTube Live, Periscope Live. It can stream with multiple names. So right now I'm in here on my business page. I can also stream on my personal page. Why is it important that I bring that up? Because a lot of apps right now will not let you stream with a third-party app onto your personal page on Facebook. I just found that out a couple of weeks ago. So again, as you're evaluating tools, you want to make sure that you have the right tool when you're streaming, because if you want this interview style, Be Live is free, Ecamm has a fee, and for most of you, Be Live could probably be okay. But again, if you want to do some more robust things as you're developing your strategy moving forward, Ecamm or other tools might be another option for you. And you might be saying, Latasha, okay, you said a lot. Well, what other tools do you want to talk to us about? Well, here's the last piece. If you are a person that with your business, you realize that it's only you. And so you'll listen to all these experts, and these experts will say, oh, make sure you're on Instagram, make sure you're on Facebook, make sure you're on Periscope, make sure you're on YouTube Live, make sure you're on TikTok, make sure you're on Snapchat. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't do it all. Like I just want to pass out with the list that Latasha said. First of all, let me tell you that if you are in the business of something that is visually going to bring people in, so photography or you take a lot of pictures to tug at people's heartstrings, I would tell you that Instagram is probably where you want to be. However, Facebook owns Instagram. So, how do you work around this? Well, you can have an Instagram account and you can make sure that the things that you post on Instagram will automatically be posted on your Facebook page. So, you can set that up. You can say one time or you could say forever. You can set that up in Instagram and so you don't have to worry about it. And if you wanted to stick with understanding and mastering Instagram, you could do that and those posts will link on your Facebook page. The other thing that's really nice about Instagram is that Instagram now has Insta stories. And so, why am I talking about Insta stories? It would be equal to Facebook Live. The thing that's different, well, actually, the way I like to describe Insta stories is it's kind of like a marriage between and Periscope and Twitter. I think so, something like that. Because with Periscope, you're getting the feedback with the hearts. On Insta Stories, you can do the same thing. So at first, when I was watching these Insta Stories, I'm like, wow, Periscope is picking back up again. But it wasn't. What was happening is people were streaming on Insta Stories and they were getting the love with the hearts through the Insta Stories. But if you're a solo person, or even if you have a team and you're saying, okay, I can only go live so often on so many places, there's some great tools to multi-stream on multiple platforms. So the one that I just recently learned about is called Lula.tv. Yes, Lula.tv. And Lula is really cool because it streams into Insta Stories, YouTube Live, and TikTok. Yes, it does. Lula. And then the other one, if you want something that's more of the traditional platforms like YouTube and Periscope and Instagram, and then put a link on LinkedIn, you can use Restream.io. So again, those are both tools that you can use. They do have a fee to them. Lula will advertise itself as being free, but you get 29 minutes for free. Then you need to go to a paid account. Restream again has a free version, but if you want to use multiple platforms, then they have a paid account. So the bottom line is both Lula and Restream are great if you want to be on multiple streams, multiple platforms streaming live. Or you can go old school. If you're like, I don't want to figure out Lula, I don't want to figure out Restream, on Amazon, they have holders. Hold on, let me show you. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick and show you my face. On Amazon, they've got some cool gadgets where you can have like a phone holder like this, but they have a double one. So you can put two phones next to each other if you don't want to do something like Restream or Lula type TV or switch some of these other ones. You can create it where you have two, like you could take your current phone and an old phone. I used to do this a long time ago before I found out about like the Restreams and the Ecamms and stuff like that. And you can have the phone side by side. And if you have the phone side by side, one can be on Periscope, one can be on Facebook Live, and then your computer could be on something else, YouTube Live. I don't know. But the bottom line is that's another way of streaming on multiple platforms, doing it manually at the same time. Is having a holder with the dual cameras. They've got some really sophisticated ones now where they've got the 2 camera holder. They've got the lights around it. So it just gives you a really nice view. And like I said, that's something that you can use as well. So I have talked a lot about some great tools. So what I want to do now on the last screen is just do a quick recap. Again, we have our family and social where we have Facebook, Skype, and Google Hangouts free conference call. We have our traditional webinar software, which is GoToMeeting, Adobe Connect, and WebEx. Then we have our streaming with our interview that is Ecamm and BeLive, our simulated live webinars, which is Webinar Jam and Webinar Ninja. Then we have our multiple platform streaming, which is Lula.tv or Restream.io. Now, it sounds like I just spoke in a whole nother language. My husband he still giggles if we go to Starbucks through the drive-through. He's always like, Latasha, it's like a whole nother language for people at Starbucks. And sometimes I feel like it's the same thing with technology. The tools that I've just said pretty rapidly could sound like, oh my gosh, like what did she say? I don't even remember. What in the world was the green button with the camera? I've seen it before. FaceTime. Oh yeah, FaceTime. What did she say you could do with that? So again, if you want to connect with me, and I'm actually going to put it over in chat again, and you want to have access to this handout so you can Google some of these softwares that we have here, you can just go to vonswy.com, Put your name and your email address in there, and then you'll be directed, or you'll have access to all of the tools that I'm talking about in these virtual sessions. So I love this. I think it's great stuff. Hopefully you're as excited as I am. Maybe not. You might just be feeling a little overwhelmed and you now need an app because I said too much. But again, you can also email me if you need additional help at info@vonswy.com. And I just want to thank you again for staying with me for another virtual tech tips session. It's been great. I'm just going to hang on for about 5 seconds to see if there's any more questions. There's usually a 30-second delay. So if anyone has any questions, I'm going to just stay here for a moment and just hang tight, see if there's any questions. If there are no questions, then I just want to say thank you. I will be back again on Wednesday at 11 a.m. If there are any specific tools or tips that you are interested in, please do not hesitate to put them in the comments. I look at all the comments and I try to adjust my teaching to meet the needs of what you guys want and what you're looking for. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.